I'm delighted to read a few poems from Questions from Outer Space. The Farthest Side. Some afternoons in the small space of time between my coming home from school and his heading off to work, second shift and maybe some of third, what did I know of those austere days? My father would have a question waiting for me. We couldn't usually find a way to get beyond all the history that divided us, that kept us far from each other for such a small house. But when I came home, he would sometimes have the paper open to the far side, usually one that went a bit further over the edge, and would ask if I understood this one. We had our dark favorites that were fairly clear: the engorged snake stuck in the crib with the teddy bear, the spider web at the bottom of the slide. If we pull this off, we'll eat like kings. But the fact that he asked me, even back then, about the more complicated ones, believing I would know about natural selection, space, modern art, or poetry, meant more to me than I would have admitted, more than I even realized at the time. When we talked about cow poetry, it went beyond the cows damming the electric fence. The pilots wondering what a mountain goat was doing in that cloud bank ahead brought us to the moment outside the frame. Maybe Larson intended that a few of these, like the meat in the bowl on the window table, or cow tools with its unrecognizable objects, would resist any quick interpretation and just get people talking. The book works with form quite a bit. This poem alludes to Frost's Fire and Ice. Sticks and Stones. Some say it like a charm, in the face of words heavy as stone, or a riddle of subtle pebbles thrown, each sticking point like a firearm, as if the saying would erase the harm. Raging fire or cold as ice, we've known too well where words can send us. Words can cut us to the bone and even end us. Some of the poems in the book reflect an alien perspective. This one uses remotely in every line of the poem. Remotely. In the culture of remotely, things were heading that way long before the virus. Once they could remotely operate things, every home in remotely had one. The young and the old fought over who would remotely control their evenings. Some remotely raised their children, absent or remotely present, even when they were there. Some things taken for granted were harder to do remotely. Procreation was possible, but remotely desirable once it became that clinical, remotely transferring cells and later cell phones once they all only remotely connected. We have observed them remotely for years as they put up walls, charted all their remotely comprehensible conflicts, and decided, when in remotely, we would do as the Remotelians, keep to our screens, and only get remotely involved. In a review, a critic recently called my work wry and funny and unsettling. I'll close with Sleeping Dogs, a poem that helped release other poems in the book. Sleeping Dogs. The problem is they lie. Ignored, they tend to cover the floor, fill the halls, block the door. Eventually, there's not a decent spot to put your foot. They have gathered here for years, taking root, seeming to be sleeping. You have to walk gingerly to get past them all. Here and there, avoid a tail, avoid the growl inside the nightmare. Make your way step by careful sidestep. But if the door is blocked, you might still get out whatever window isn't covered yet. Some of us, historically, are good at this. Some of us learned early how to squeeze through such tight-lipped passages.